Okay, let's talk about cameras for a few minutes. If I'm in my 3D window and I push 0 on my keypad, I will zoom into the view of the camera that's in that scene, assuming I have a camera. And if I push 0 again, I will zoom out of that view. Now, if I select a camera, I can move it around like any other object. I can go ahead and I can grab the different gizmos, whether it's grabbing or rotating or whatever the case might be, and I can move things around that way. Let's Control Z a few times and put things back to how they were. I can also move things around using the transform, whether it's moving things, whether it's rotating things, whether it's just using the slider, whether it's keying in a specific number. I can go ahead and do that as well. And of course I can also use keyboard commands. So if I have my camera selected, I can simply push G and I can move it around. I can push R and I can move it around. Or, let's Control Z a couple of times, I can do it on specific axes. So if I push R and X, I can rotate the camera in a specific way. Or if I do G and Z, I can move it on a specific axis. So that's all great. The thing is, it makes more sense to be doing this while we're in camera view, and of course we can. So if I push 0 on my keypad, let's zoom in a little bit so we have a better view of the camera. We can do those same things that we were just doing in camera view. So if I go ahead and grab this and start moving things around, or if I push R and rotate, I can rotate this thing and get some crazy angle. If I want more control, I can go ahead and push R and I can push a specific key. Like in this case, maybe let's do X and rotate it back up a little bit. Now here's the thing worth noting. If I do one of those commands, like for example grab, and I do X, it'll move specifically on that axis. If I push X a second time, note that the axis changed and how it moves is slightly different. Same thing applies on anything if you push it a second time. So if I go ahead and if I grab this on Y, it's kind of zooming in and out. It's actually not, it's just moving on the Y axis, but if I push the Y a second time, the motion has changed. So that comes in particularly handy with the Z. If I grab this on Z, of course it's moving up and down, but if I push it a second time, in essence, it starts zooming in and out. So I can zoom this out to a certain point, or in this case, I'm going to zoom it in and get this right like so. Maybe zooming in on the bag, just like that. And I'll grab this again, and I will move this over on X to kind of get it centered. Let's suppose we put a second camera into the scene. That's simple enough. I can just go up to Add, or I can Shift A and add a camera. Camera 001. Now if I want to take a look at that camera, if I push 0 and get out of my camera view, and with that selected, I push 0 again, well, it didn't work. It went back into the view of the first camera in the scene. To get into the view of the new camera, with it selected, what I can do is I can select Control 0 in the 3D view. I can push Control 0, and now I'm in that camera view. And we can go through the same process that we just went through. If I grab this on Z twice, maybe I can zoom this out, and I can get a long view of the scene. Maybe I'll grab this on X, move it over a little bit. Maybe I will rotate this on Z, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab on X again. But this time I pushed X twice because I wanted it to move over in relation to where it was rather than on the X-axis. And I think maybe I'll do this one more time. I'm going to grab this and move it down on Z so that we get a shot kind of like this. So anyway, that's sort of a general overview on some basics on how to use cameras. So now this is the view from camera 1. Camera 1 is my default view. If I want to change back to the original camera and have that be my default, I simply push Control 0, and that's now my preferred camera angle. Very basic overview on how to use cameras. There's a lot more to it, but I think for the moment this will be alright. And moving forward, I'll do some cleanup. There's some things in the scene, some visuals that I need to deal with, and then maybe we'll do a little bit of rendering, both of some still shots and maybe putting together some short, simple video clips as well.